Hey everybody, Raul Shah, Doc Shah Financial, and in today's video, we're going to talk about asset location. And this is not about what to buy, but it's actually about where to put what you buy and how this could easily lead to hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential tax savings if you do this the right way. So you're going to want to pay attention. I manage millions of dollars in client assets, and so I'm very familiar with exactly how this works. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So the same way that you would put ice cream in a freezer instead of your hot car is the same way that you want to place certain investments in certain accounts to get the most tax advantages out of those investments. I'm going to walk you through exactly how this works. So you've got three main types of accounts. You've got tax-deferred accounts, taxable accounts, and tax-free accounts. A tax-deferred account is like a traditional IRA or a 401k or a 403b or a 457 plan. Oftentimes, these accounts lead to tax deductions in the year that you make the contribution. But what tax-deferred means is that once you put money in this account, it grows tax deferred until you withdraw it. So say that you're 25 years old, you put $10,000 in your 401k, all of those earnings, so in the next year, if it's 11,000, the next year it's 12,000, you're not paying tax along the way. It's all growing tax deferred. And the only tax you'll pay is when you pull it out. And at that point, you'll pay ordinary income tax rate, whatever your tax bracket is at the time. But that's how a tax-deferred account works. And don't worry about memorizing all this stuff. It'll be clear as we progress with the video. But a tax-deferred account is you put money in this account, grows tax-deferred, you take it out and pay an ordinary income tax. A taxable account is a little different. In this account, you can think of it as pay tax as you go. And so anytime that you realize a gain, whether it's interest or a dividend or a capital gain, you will pay tax on that amount. Now, depending on how long you hold the investment or what type of investment it is, you'll pay a different tax rate. You might pay your ordinary income tax rate on some of the gains in this account, or you might pay a long-term capital gains tax rate in this account, depending on if you hold your investment for longer than a year and what investment it actually is. This account is the most straightforward because, anytime you realize a gain, boom, you get hit with a tax, and it kind of is intuitive in how it works. This is like your standard brokerage account that you might have with Fidelity or Schwab, E-Trade, Robinhood, any of those likes. Now you have a tax-free account. This bucket is a little bit different. In this account, you actually pay tax to put money into the account. So think like a Roth IRA or a Roth 401k. And when you do this, now everything grows tax-free and you can pull it out tax-free. Remember, in the tax-deferred accounts, it grows tax-deferred, and then you get hit with the income tax when you pull it out. In a tax-free account, it grows tax-free, and there's no tax when you withdraw. So those are all the three different accounts that we have here. You've got your tax-deferred, taxable, and tax-free account. Now, what people do is they make this very common mistake, which is they put their investments in the wrong account because they just neglect or ignore all the tax advantages of these accounts. So I'm gonna show you how to take advantage of that right now. So in a tax-deferred account, we wanna place more slowly appreciating assets in this account so that we don't get hit with a huge tax liability when we ultimately take it out and pay ordinary income tax. Because remember, ordinary income tax is suffocating. It's the highest tax that you're really going to pay, and we want to mitigate that tax as much as we can. So in a tax-deferred account, we typically like to put things like treasuries or corporate bonds or even REITs because these instruments are going to get taxed at ordinary income rates. So it makes sense to defer paying taxes on these investments as long as we can. If you take a REIT that's, let's say, paying monthly dividend income and you put that in your taxable account, or remember, you're going to pay tax every time that REIT throws off income. You don't want to do that. You want to try to defer those taxes as long as you can because REITs don't tend to appreciate as much as like a growth stock. So you've got bonds, REITs in that tax-deferred account where it's not appreciating so much, so you never really get hit with a huge ordinary income tax rate because that account balance isn't as high as it would be otherwise had you put like a growth stock in this account. In a taxable account, we want to put investments that are tax efficient. So we want to put stocks that we want to hold for the long term in this account. Because remember, if you hold a stock for longer than a year in your taxable account, you get hit with a long-term capital gains tax rate, which is much lower than the ordinary income tax rate. So we want to put long-term stocks in your taxable account, and we also want to put things like muni bonds in this account. A muni bond is just a bond issued by state or local government. These bonds are generally exempt from taxes at the state level, but they are exempt from taxes at the federal level. So we don't want to take that investment and put it in a tax-deferred account because you're not going to pay tax on that investment anyway. So we want to put that investment in an account where you would normally have to pay tax, but now don't have to. And lastly, we want to place the investments that have the most growth potential in a tax-free account. The reason being is that when we put money in that tax-free account, we pay a tax and we buy the investment, but then when it grows, all that money is now tax-free. So we want to put stocks in this account that we think might 10x or 20x, because you're getting to now avoid all of that taxation on that huge amount of growth when you put it in a tax-free account. That's really the beauty of these accounts, and that's how you want to really use them, is taking those stocks that you think have a lot of appreciation and putting them in an account where you get to avoid taxes on all of that growth. So in general, that is how all of these accounts are taxed, and in general, what to put in these accounts. But now let's actually go through 3 very common mistakes that people make with asset location and how to correct them. Mistake number 1, taking a growth stock and placing it in your traditional IRA instead of your Roth IRA. Let's take an example of 2 people. Person A puts $7,000 in his traditional IRA, and person B puts $7,000 in his Roth IRA. Now let's say they buy the exact same stock and it goes up 8% for 35 years. Well, both of these accounts will be worth roughly $103,000, except person A, who put it in their traditional IRA, is going to pay tax when he pulls that money out, and it's going to be ordinary income tax. Let's just say his tax rate is 20%. He's going to pay about $21,000 in tax on that investment. Person B, who put it in their Roth IRA, gets to take it out tax-free at the end. He paid tax when he put that $7,000 into the account, and if his tax rate was also 20%, he would have paid about $1,400 in taxes the day that he put that $7,000 in his Roth IRA. So now you can see that this guy who put that stock in his traditional IRA paid $21,000 in taxes, and this guy who put it in his Roth IRA only paid $1,400 in taxes. That one move alone, asset location, saves $20,000 in this example. And if you do this over every single year, you strategically put your assets in the right spot, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars of potential tax savings just by asset location. Okay, mistake number 2 is putting all of your bonds and your REITs in your taxable account. Remember, this account gets hit with the tax every time you're realizing gains, and so you might not want that. If you've got a REIT or a bond that's paying off regular interest and dividends, you might want to defer those taxes, and since they're not going to appreciate very much, you might be better off putting them in a tax deferred account. This is a mistake I see all the time. People take their REITs, they take their bonds, and they put them in their taxable accounts instead of putting them in their tax deferred accounts. And mistake number 3 is taking muni bonds that are exempt from federal income tax and a lot of the times state income tax, and putting them in your Roth IRA. All right, that account is already tax-free. You want to take those tax-free investments and put them in accounts where you ordinarily pay tax on them. That's the advantage. And if you do this the right way, you'll save a lot of money in taxes. So there you guys have it. I hope this video helped you. Remember, asset location, take your investments, put them in the right accounts to save in taxes. It's really that simple. If you need help doing this, I do this for clients all the time. They don't even have to worry about it. Just shoot me an email, raul@docshoffinancial.com. I'd love to see if there's any way I can help you out. And thanks so much for watching this video.